Now we will solve a couple of problems to illustrate how objects can be used in some common scenarios. The first problem we are going to be solving is finding the number of unique values present in an array. This is a classic first problem. I encourage you to pause this video and try to solve it on your own before continuing. Okay, I'm assuming that you did attempt to solve this problem. Now first, let me try to solve it without using objects. What if I did not know about objects at all? In that case, how I would solve it is first create an output array and then iterate through the input array. Let's call this input array. And if the value is present in the output array, then just continue, else add it to the output array. So this is the pseudocode. This is what I will do. So how do I check whether if the value is present in the output array? Then what I have to do is iterate through every value in output array and check and compare it with the current value of the input array. Now let's write the code for that. So let output array, initially it is an empty array, and then I will say let input value of input array, then for let output value of output array. So for every input value I will check whether it is already present in the output array. Now to say if output value equals the input value, I will set a variable as true. So initially I will set found as false, and here I will set found as true. And once it is found, I will just break out of this inner loop. Okay, and then if this value is not found, I will add this input value to the output value. Let's run this code. I'll pause the video for a few seconds so that you can understand the code. Okay, let's run it. So we can see that we got the output as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These values were repeated and the output seems to be correct. Let's just print the values as well so that it is easy for you to identify what's happening. So I'll say input value is this. Now I'll say console.log comparing input value with the output value. So we are doing that here, and if it is found, we'll break, right? So we'll just say console.log input value is found. Okay. Let's not add it again. And finally, if the input value is not found, we will say that it is not found yet, and we will add it. So input value is new. Okay, let's add it to the output. And then we'll add the new value and print the output value. Let me take a smaller example. Just use 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh no, the values are not printed as cleanly as I thought they will. Okay, let's see it anyway. So initially the input value is 1, and we saw that 1. We can see that 1 is new, so let's add it to the output. There are no other elements in the output array, so we do not compare 1 with anything else. Now the output array is 1. Next we saw 2. We are comparing 2 with 1. 2 is also new. We are adding it. Next the input value is 1 again. We are comparing it with the first value 1. It is already present, so let's not add it. and similarly we'll also not add 2, but finally we are adding 3 and the result is 1 2 3. So you can see that this was like quite tedious, and we had to check whether the input value already exists in the output manually, kind of by using a inner loop, and this is also quite inefficient, right? Now what if we had 100 values? Then the number of iterations will be in the order of 100 square, right? Let's just count the number of iterations. Let's say iterations equal to 0, then I'll increase the iterations here. Okay, now we have 5 values. Let's count the iterations. So we have 6, we needed 6 iterations. Now let me add more values. Let me take the worst case scenario by adding new values. Okay, so let's just add 4 5 6 for now. So you can see that we have 18 iterations now, and what if I just add 7 8 9? Now we have 39. So even though we added only 3 new items to the array, the number of iterations I think doubled, right? Let's see that. Let's see that by removing the console.logs. Yeah. So we have 39 iterations now. Let me remove this. Now we had 18 iterations. So the number of iterations more than doubled, even though we added just 3 values. So the input itself had 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 values. Now there are like 11 values. We did not double the size of the input, but the amount of time it took to solve our problem increased by more than 100%. So it's not good. So arrays are not efficient for searching. So now we use objects to solve the same problem. By the way, my initial problem was to count the number of unique values. So I can just print dot length, right? So now we have 9 unique values, as you can see here. Okay. What if we use objects? Let's see what happens. Now I can just create like an output object. It is initially an empty object. Now I can say for let input value of input array, and if input value, now I want to check whether the input value belongs to the output object. There are a couple of ways to solve this. To do this in JavaScript, this is one way. If input value in object property, that means that it is already present. So I can just say continue. Else I can add it to the output object. Another easier way to do that is to wrap a not around this expression. If input value not in the output object, then I can just say output object of input value. This is the key, and the value can be set to anything. We can just set it as true. You can set any value here, because in this particular problem we don't care about the value, we just care about the whether the property itself exists or not. Now let's just print the output object. Okay, so now we can see that all these values are present. So you might say, hey look, this check, we replaced iterating through arrays using this check. What if JavaScript itself is doing a lot of work to check whether the input value is present in the output object? So the JavaScript implementation, JavaScript and also other language implementations, they do a lot of good computer science behind the scenes to make sure that this is a very fast operation. Internally, they use something called as hash tables. So we don't have to worry about it. But for us as application developers, you can see that this is much more easier to solve our problems using objects. So now this is a very specific case. Then how do we generalize this pattern? What did we learn here? So whenever you want to keep track of all the information you have seen in an efficient manner, then objects should be the first thing that come to mind. And there are other data structures as well, but let's not worry about it for now. Objects are so useful that they will help solve a majority of problems that you will encounter in the real world.